following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Sling'n Proffet podcast. As always, I am your host, Andrew Daly, joined by my co-host, the Prophet himself. Yes, Prophet, I think we can confirm that you paid your electric bill. Hopefully you got everything worked out that you needed to get worked out from last week. Are you okay on that end or what?
Well, I thought I was okay on this end last week, and things went crazy. So I think we're good. We'll have to wait and see. Although, playing the show back and watching it, I actually kind of liked my voice the way it was. I don't think anybody else did, but I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, I don't know if it was if anybody else really cared for it too much. I know I didn't, so I'm glad you got some amusement out of it. Sounded a little bit like Mickey Mouse on steroids, I guess.
No, it sounded like you were sucking it, like I was sucking a helium balloon, and then talking.
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen again. But we are here. We got a loaded show for you. We're going to hopefully hit all of our segments this week that we didn't get a chance to hit on last week. We missed out on Prophet's picks, the fantasy picks, and stuff like that. So hopefully things are good to go. But before we dive into that, as always, we like to check up on the week that was. Anything going on in the world of Prophet land or what?
No, everything's great down here with me and Mrs. Prophet now. The producers did say that we have a really big show, so don't start the show off with any jokes. So I'm not going to do any jokes, but I am going to tell a little story. Okay. The neighbors, boy, they were going at it hot and heavy, on Sunday. She packed up his luggage and put it out on the front porch, and he come home, and I was up on the deck smoking, and I'm listening to them, and they were really going at it. And she finally said to him, I hope you die a long and painful death. And he turned around and said, I thought you wanted me to leave. and with that, he jumped in his truck and got out of here.
Let's stick to the producer's requests, and we'll hold off on the story time next time. I don't know. That guy sounds like he's in enough pain, so maybe he did the right thing by leaving. But anyway, we got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to do a week 2 rundown. Obviously, we're going to talk about our week 3 predictions. We got our jug handle in game of the week that we're going to discuss. We got our advanced sports weekly pick'em pool, and hey, there was a lot of changes. Listen, like you said last week, it's a marathon, not a sprint in that
right
thing. So we had a lot of changes atop the leaderboard. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to get into. So we're going to dive right into it. To get started here, let me bring this down here and go with our one-person overlay. Excuse me. As always, we're starting out with our What's Happening segment where we go through the news for the week. And what's happening, big news out of Thursday night football is Tua suffers another concussion. Is his future in doubt? Prophet, there's been reports all over the place about, people saying whether he should or shouldn't continue to play football. I watched a good press conference with the head coach, McDaniel. Says they asked him if they feel like he should retire, and he basically comes out and says, that's not my place to say. You're talking about a grown man. You're talking about his career, how he provides for his family, and that's his decision to make. Now, Tua has come out, from what I understand, and said that he does not have any intentions of retiring, which is, that's his decision to make, 100%. What I will say about Tua is his style of play has got to change. And that goes for really any quarterback in the NFL, I think. When you're running the ball and you're unprotected, like, listen, running backs in the NFL for the most part are a little bit more put together. They're solid. They're built to handle the bruising that they take, play in and play out. Quarterbacks usually aren't built that way. So when you're running is a part of your game like that, you got to find ways to protect yourself. And Tua's had now 2 that I can remember really scary concussions on the field. He's just got to find sliding is your friend. All right, as a quarterback, you got to be able to learn how to slide and get down and get away from contact. Whatever he decides to do, like I said, I'm not on one side of the fence or the other. I'm with McDaniels. That's his decision to make. But if you're going to continue playing, man, you got to protect yourself a little better. And what's your thoughts on this whole situation, Prophet?
Well, first and foremost, I agree with McDaniels, with you. He's a grown man. He's going to weigh the pros and cons of continuing on, and then he's going to make his decision. And that is his decision and his and his family's decision alone. Okay. Now, if he does choose to stay on the football field, you are 100% correct. I mean, Sling, I know he hit his head when he went down, but the hit from Hamlin was not bad, and the blow to the head when he went down was not bad. I mean, not like the first two he's had anyhow.
Yeah.
He's got some stuff going on up in that head, man, and he either needs to get another helmet, he needs to learn how to slide. I don't understand. He had a first down. Like, and it wasn't like he was trying to bowl Hamlin over. Like, I just didn't understand the play at all. Like, what was he doing there?
Yeah, and they do say that it's once you have one, it's very common. It's a lot easier to get another one. And so once you had 3 or 4 or 5, I can't imagine how easy it is for him to get a repeat concussion. So he's got to figure something out. I do think we're going to see him back. I think he's come back, or he's already come out and said he's got no plans to retire. I don't know if there's going to be a neurologist that is going to put their name on it, on allowing him to come back. That'll be determined by the team doctor and his doctors, I guess. But again, ultimately his decision to make, and really nobody else's, because it's an unfair conversation to have about somebody else's career, about whether it's time to hang them up or not. But
he needs to look long and hard, though, because he's a young guy.
Sure, a lot of life.
He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to become, another Jim McMahon, or uh, in my background, in the wrestling background, so many guys that are really stupid now as they get to their 50s and 60s because of concussions and continuing on with it. I mean, it's a serious thing, and he needs to really look hard at it.
Yep. We're moving forward. Something you predicted last week that would happen. It didn't happen. Todd says I need to hang it up in fantasy. Todd's had a rough go of it in our fantasy league. He's 0-2 right now, but that's okay. A lot of us are, Todd.
Right. We'll get you back, Todd.
You predicted this last week. I don't think it happened during the game. It happened after the game. The Panthers come out and announce that Bryce Young is going to be benched for Andy Dalton. You said it's the best thing that could possibly happen to the Panthers last week because Andy Dalton gives them the best chance to win. That might be true right this second, but is it the best possible thing to happen to Bryce Young right now in his young career for his confidence? And I don't know what to make of the move because, quite frankly, the Panthers have a lot of issues, and it's not just the quarterback position. Okay, there's a lot more. There's a lot more going on than just the quarterback play. So for Andy Dalton to come in, and what's their motive here? Are they trying to make a playoff run? I don't understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to win games, obviously, but even with Andy Dalton at quarterback, I don't foresee them being a divisional contender. What do you make of this situation, and what do you think the end game is here?
No, I agree. They're not a divisional contender with Dalton in there, okay? But they are a much better team with Dalton in there, okay? And if they can pick up, 5-6 wins, it's going to keep butts in the seat in the stadium, okay? Bryce Young, all last year, Sling, I mean, I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. Let's see. Watching that first game against New Orleans, he stunk. Watching the start of the second game last week against the Chargers, which was a game that, if Dalton was in there, I honestly believe that they were right for the pickings there. They would have won that game. He stunk. he cannot play quarterback in this league. He's done. Um, they're going to be looking. They're going to be looking at Sanders or someone next year. That's all. I mean, yeah. Are the Panthers a great team with a quarterback? Hell no. Are they a better team with the quarterback? For sure. And Dalton's going to go in there and like I said earlier this season, he's never had receivers like he has to throw to now. He's going to have fun, and the
Yeah.
Panthers are going to win some games now.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see what happens to Bryce Young's career. You did touch on something, though. You touched on Sanders. I imagine you're alluding to Shedeur Sanders. And it's interesting that you bring that up because our next slide is about Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. And we're kind of changing gears here a little bit, going into college football, switching from the NFL here. But is the country tired of the Deion Sanders show at Colorado? Okay, you've heard a lot in the news about Coach Prime lately, and it's not so great with his team. The way he acts, the way his son acts, the way Travis Hunter acts. Look, they took a beating at Nebraska. Shedeur leaves the sideline 2 minutes early. Travis Hunter is on the sideline, pouting, throwing fits. He's supposed to be the top five draft pick this coming year, which he probably will be. There's rumors out there that Prime told the Colorado band that they're not allowed to play the fight song after touchdowns because they want him to play, or he wants them to play his son's rap song over the loudspeakers. I mean, this has just gotten to a point in Colorado where I think it was exciting the first year for a couple games when they started out 3-0 last year, and it has just gotten sour very quickly. They barely beat a North Dakota State team, which is an FCS opponent. They go out and they get smoked by Nebraska. And then they put a good win up against Colorado State. But how many games is Colorado State going to win, even though it's a big rivalry game? I just think that the whole thing is getting a little tired at Colorado, and I think that the fan base is realizing that, and around the country, I think things are pretty much trending in that direction. Do you got anything to add about this situation here?
Yeah, you know what? I really don't care about this situation, but I'm going to pretend to because it's one of our segments. Okay, Mrs. Proffet, till to this day, she still loves Colorado, the whole Prime thing. So if there's people out there that are still feeling good about it, good for them. Okay, I didn't care about this from day one. This it was a joke. What he's doing. Um, they made such a big deal about it last year. Like you said, they win 3 games. Yeah, okay, they won. They won their first 3, but did they win 4 last year overall? Or
no, I don't think so.
Win games. That's what That's what makes all the hype, not the bull crap on the sidelines.
Yeah, and just they got their play calling the past couple of weeks. They're up. They're up in the North Dakota State game with a minute left. They could run the clock out, but they're still airing it out. They're throwing incomplete passes. The clock management's terrible. The clock management's terrible at Colorado State game, and everybody's saying, well, Pat Shurmur was an NFL offensive coordinator. There's no way that he's calling these plays. So these directives have got to be coming from Prime. I don't know if he's trying to pad his guy's stats or what it is, but like I said, I think the whole thing's getting old and people are getting tired of it and they're ready to move on from it. But we're going to keep it with arrogance on that theme, and we're going to go to the post-game handshake of the Houston Texans game and the Chicago Bears game, which the Texans won that game. Quite frankly, the fact of the matter is Caleb Williams has not looked good at all so far this year. There hasn't been really any glimpses of him looking good. And when you have a quarterback such as CJ Stroud, who is not far removed from playing in college himself and being new to the NFL, he tries to give you a post-game, let's not say lecture, but just some advice post-game. And if you didn't see the clip, I got it clipped up here, and let's take a look at it here.
Good job out there, bro. Yeah, hey, keep going. Stop taking those hits. Yeah, I know. Hey, yeah. Learn from those mistakes And everything that you got, bro, is in you already, bro. You're going to be a hell of a player in this league. Yep. All right, boy. Appreciate it. For sure.
So you see the video there, and you see Stroud actually have to tell Williams to come back here because he's talking to him. Williams wants no part of this conversation. He's kind of rolling his eyes. He blows him off, says, "Yep, appreciate you, bro. Thanks." He's got nothing for him. I just think this comes off as completely arrogant, but it's right on par with what we've known about Caleb Williams coming out of USC. This guy, I don't think this guy's got time for anybody. You can see it even when, in Hard Knocks and stuff. It's just, he doesn't, he's in his own world, and there's not many people that are going to enter that world, and it's just not a good situation to be in. What do you make of this? I know you got a lot of feelings on it.
Well, we talked about this in March, before the draft, and the problems that he was in the locker room at USA. Okay. Chicago went with him anyhow, which is great for Chicago. Maybe one day they're going to have another Justin Fields that they can trade away. Okay. Now, I'll give Caleb this. That wasn't Tom Brady walking up to him, giving him advice. Okay.
I agree with you there.
But on the flip side of that coin, that was CJ Stroud, who had one of the most prolific rookie seasons in the history of the NFL last year, and he's 2-0 now, and he just whooped your team, and he's trying to give you some advice to help you, and you don't have the time of day for him. You're walking away from the man. I mean, arrogance, yeah, that's one word for it.
Yeah, I get it, and I get what you're saying too, and I get there's some comments in here like, yeah, they just lost the game. He's frustrated. But listen, how many times at the end of the game do you see the quarterback's post-game handshake and they embrace and they talk for a couple minutes and then they head out? Like, that's what they do. It's a gentleman's agreement. It's part of the game. You go out there, you share some words, and you acknowledge each other, and you go off. But I didn't get a good vibe from it. I saw the video actually yesterday, and I didn't. It struck me the wrong way. But I can't say that I'm surprised about it, because, like you said, we knew this kind of coming into it. So moving on, we're going to stay in college for a minute, and we're going to do this real quick. We're not sitting here dissecting these games, but we got a fun Saturday on tap. We got a couple big games with Tennessee at Oklahoma. USC goes to Michigan, which is not a game that you typically see. And then you got a big one between Utah and Oklahoma State, where the two starting quarterbacks, I think, have combined 14 years of eligibility under their belt. So that should be a good one to watch. But I know you're, big Tennessee country down there, Prophet. Who do you got in this Tennessee-Oklahoma game?
Well, Tennessee's offense is an explosion waiting to happen, okay? And under Heupel, though, they've struggled against better teams. Obviously, I'm going to be rooting for the Vols, but I think Oklahoma, when in doubt, you take the home pup, and I got Oklahoma 24-21 in this game.
That's a kind of a low-scoring affair for this one. I got Oklahoma in this one too, but I think it's going to be a little bit higher scoring than that. I don't have a score prediction, but I do think that it's going to be a bit of a shootout. Moving on to Michigan, USC. I'm excited about this one. USC making the trip across country to come to the big house, 100,000 strong. I don't know if Michigan can keep up with the speed of the Trojans. I'm not a huge Michigan guy myself. They had a poor showing last week. I got USC winning this game in a close one. What about you?
Yeah, I think this is one of USC's most well-rounded teams in a long time. Michigan, obviously, they got some issues with, they're still dealing with the hardball fall off and all. I see USC going into the big house and taking this one 27-13.
Yeah, kind of a dominating performance, from a prediction from you. Utah and Oklahoma State, we talked about the two quarterbacks, Cam Rising and Alan Bowman. These guys are just gunslingers in their own right. This game could be 60-56. Matter of fact, my prediction is going to be Utah let's say I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I'm going to go 48-42 with Utah over this one. You got any predictions on this game? I don't know if you're too well versed in these two teams or not.
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, look, you give me an assignment, I do my homework. Okay,
I know you do your homework, but I give you an assignment and tell you got 30 seconds to talk about it, and we try and keep it to that. So, what do you think about?
Well, yeah, that's another story. But okay, yeah. I mean, you got two high-powered offenses here, but I actually think Oak State has a little bit more firepower than Utah does, and I see Oak State winning this one. I'm going again with the home pup here. 35-31.
35-31, Oklahoma State over Utah, and nice to sprinkle in a little college football in there. Always fun to talk a little college. I know I don't get a chance to watch much college these days because of my work schedule, but I'll be watching this one. It's in the afternoon, or Tennessee games at night, I think. I'll get to watch a couple of them, but sticking with the college theme, but in the NFL. What's going on, Prophet? The first 2 weeks of this NFL season, you could talk about the quarterback play in general, okay? But I want to talk about specifically the rookie quarterback play because, quite frankly, it has been absolutely abysmal. All right, I saw a stat today. It said rookie quarterbacks have 0 touchdown passes this year on 196 pass attempts. That's unheard of. To not be able to produce a touchdown pass for your NFL team as a rookie. What's going on? Do you think the defenses have just gotten that much better? Or do you think these guys just aren't that good?
I think the guys aren't that good. I mean, plain and simple. We talk about it. It seems like almost every week that these quarterbacks are just so overrated coming out of school, and then they don't let them sit and learn the game. They put them right in. I mean, you don't find a ton of C.J. Strouds. And I say C.J. Stroud because he's the most recent and in everybody's head, I mean, but you go back some years, yeah, Peyton Manning had like 30 interceptions his first year as a rookie. He had a struggle. He got thrown in right from the get-go. Okay. Stroud's an anomaly here. This doesn't happen, but we're talking about the bad end of it. These guys are not good. They're not good enough coming out of school to start in the NFL on day one. They have to get some time under their belts. And
I go back to a quote that we actually said on this show a couple years ago was there's not 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL that are starting quarterback worthy. Now, are these guys good enough to beat out the ones who are behind them? I don't know. I don't know if they're just like you take Bryce Young, for example. Is Bryce Young better than Andy Dalton?
Not
in
at this stage.
Your opinion, you say no.
Right.
But so do you go with should these teams be going with the veteran guys, even though they know they're not the future, to let these guys learn?
Yes. I say yes.
I mean, it just comes down to a business decision, I guess. You got so much money wrapped up in some of these guys that they almost have to play because
That's the bottom line.
It's not just what you do on Sunday. You got ticket sales, you got jersey sales, you got all this stuff going on. So it just hasn't been good. And quite frankly, I used to be able to sit and watch 7 hours of commercial-free football pretty easily on a Sunday. I've been struggling to do it the past 2 weeks. I feel like I'm just wasting my day away with some of these games,
Red Dead Redemption came into play again this weekend for me, man.
And it doesn't help that I haven't been hitting all my bets, but maybe if I could have heard your audio a little better last week, then I could have got a couple better plays out of it, but I'll digress on that. Sticking with injury 2 roundup before we move on to next week. I'm sorry, sticking with week 2 roundup before we move on to next week. Let's talk about some big injuries that went down because there were some significant injuries that came out of this week. All right, we lost Tua. Tua's been placed on IR, or
he's on IR.
Cooper Kupp is out. Deebo Samuel got hurt for a already depleted 49ers team. AJ Brown got hurt. Pacheco's out 6 to 8 weeks. Who else? There was a bunch of other injuries. Those are just the big guys off the
Injuries.
top of my
Yeah,
head.
Jefferson got hurt this week.
Yeah. Jefferson got hurt. I don't know what his deal is. I don't think there was anything huge there. I think it was just a contusion, but Taysom Hill left the game, did not return. CJ Mosley's out. I saw he's already been listed out for tomorrow. Justin Herbert, holy smokes. Did you see the hit that Herbert took? He got bent in half. So
he's lucky that he's not out this week.
Yeah, I mean, there was some nasty injuries that went down this week. So I guess we'll talk about more in your fantasy plays, but these are huge fantasy impacts too,
Oh, sure. I mean, Cooper Kupp, Nicole went out last week.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
They have no receivers out in LA now. Debo, I mean, Ayuk hasn't gotten back into form yet. Debo, getting hurt is a big hit there. Well, AJ Brown, he was out before the weekend, but Pacheco's a monster loss. They had Edwards-Helaire is already on the IR or the PUP list or whatever. They have no running back. Sammy Pomadrine and the Dalton Steele. I mean, that's who they're going to be handing the ball off to this weekend. I mean, it's big. These guys.
We got Greg going off in the comments here. Greg's pissed off about something. He says, LOL, Andy Dalton, build around the quarterback. Says Tepper is a terrible owner. Let the GM build the team. Drafting a quarterback number one and having no offensive line or playmakers, maybe he would be successful. And then Greg says that no preseason is killing these teams. And he might be onto something there with the preseason comment.
Well, he is, but we just did a segment on injuries. Can you afford to lose guys like that in games that mean absolutely nothing?
Maybe these guys are getting lost because they haven't had time to acclimate.
That's very possible. I mean, what came first? What? As a matter of fact, I ordered a chicken and an egg from Amazon yesterday.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. This damn corny jokes that go over people's heads. All right, we're moving on. We're moving on to our big advanced sports weekly pick'em pool. I told you there was a lot of movement this week. Tough week for pick'ems. There was a lot of upsets. I saw something online today that said if you're in all these suicide pools and whatnot, it's the first time in history or first time in however many years that the biggest favorite has lost in week 1 and week 2. You had the Bengals in week 1 with the Patriots, and then you had the Ravens in week 2 with the Raiders. So a lot of hectic movement here in the Advanced Sports Weekly Pick'em Pool. Our buddy Johnny Harbaugh, checking in on the top of the leaderboard for week 2, and I know he's watching right now because he's been talking to us in the comments here. But Johnny goes 10-6. 10-6 takes home the cake for the weekend. All right. We had Big Pick Energy I like that name too. Big Pick Energy with 9-7. Rich P goes 9-7. Radomir goes 9-7. Johnny Z 9-7. And Go USA is 9-7. And everybody else, the best score was 8-8. So moving, like I said, a lot of movement in our leaderboard here. It's early, but Radomir is on top. Radomir is on top with a 23-9 record. He's got 23 points, followed by Go USA at 22-10, and then Laura hanging in there tough in second place, tied for second place at 22-10 as well. As we say, folks, it is a marathon, not a sprint. Be sure to get your picks in for our pick'em pool for starting tomorrow. I'll be sending out the reminder emails for those of you who haven't gotten your picks in yet. Make sure you do so. You want to get that $100 Visa gift card at the end, and that the service price from Advanced Sports, which is valued at over $300. And we thank our sponsors at Advanced Sports for sponsoring our weekly pick'em pool. Keep them up, guys. Good job.
15 weeks left. Still a long way to go.
For sure. Now we're going into our big segment here, the weekly roundup, where we're going to dissect the week that was, and we're going to do it quick, Prophet. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of games to talk about. Let's try and get through this in a relatively decent amount of time, okay? because I know you got a lot more segments after this. It sounds like your audio is going to be good. We're going to get to everything here, but the weekly roundup, we got to get somebody to sponsor a weekly roundup because it just says the weekly roundup brought to you by. Sounds good, doesn't it?
Sounds good. Yeah, we got to. Anybody out there want to sponsor the weekly roundup? Don't hesitate. Let it get in touch with us.
There we go. The Bills lay it on the Dolphins in prime time, 31-10 in this game. I understand that the Dolphins lost Tua. Hey, not for nothing. The Dolphins outgained the Bills here by a total of 351 yards to 247 yards, but Bills had a halftime lead and they never let it go. Dolphins weren't able to score in the second half. Josh Allen doesn't have to do a whole lot. He goes 13-19 for 139 yards. Cook goes off a little bit, though, in the running game. 11 attempts for 78 yards and 2 touchdowns. What'd you make of this one for the Bills and the Dolphins here, Prophet?
Yeah, this game really wasn't close from the get-go. I mean, Miami tied it in the first quarter, but from that point on, it was all Buffalo. Tua getting hurt, didn't change the outcome of this game for sure. James Cook, that guy's a beast, man. Ever since they changed the OCs last year in the middle of the season, the guy's numbers are phenomenal.
A little bit of a pickup game, bounce back game here for the Cincinnati Bengals, but after the stinker they laid in the first week, but they still put up a good game here against the Chiefs. Chiefs edge out the Bengals in a 1-point victory, 26-25. Listen, this is, I guess, more of the offense that you expect to see out of Joe Burrow. 23-36 for 258 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mahomes goes 18-25 for $150 and 2 TDs, but he also throws 2 interceptions there. Pacheco ran for 90 yards before he got injured. Bengals really have no rushing attack, though, and I think it's going to come back and bite them here, and it did in this game. What'd you make of this one?
Yeah, this was a fun game to watch. I caught the better part of the second half on this one, and it looks like Burrow is back. So you fantasy holders of Burrow, don't fret. He'll be fine the rest of the way out. He gets Higgins back this week, and he'll be fine.
That's good to hear because I had Burrow on the bench for my one league, and he did pretty well because I think I picked up Jaden Daniels, and Daniels saved me with a couple rushing touchdowns, but would have liked to have seen him get some through the air. I think some apologies are in order here, Prophet. Apologies are in order from you to me. Baker Mayfield goes into Detroit and lays it on the Lions, baby, and the Buccaneers, they're 2-0. And they're on their way to winning me that money from the $200 bet that we put. All right. Baker goes 12-19 for 185. Nothing great. Touchdown and interception. They only put up 216 yards of offense, giving up 463. That's a problem. But they find a way to get it done. Jared Goff throws the ball 55 times for 300 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. My problem is Baker Mayfield was the leading rusher in this game with 34 yards and a touchdown. We talked last week about Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery splitting time. Jahmyr Gibbs had the better of this one, going 13 attempts for 84 yards, but Montgomery gets the touchdown. 11 attempts for only 35 yards. Prophet, listen, I'll take my apology. Go ahead.
I think the only one that's owed an apology here are the fans of Detroit. Okay, they built this team up. This is a Super Bowl team. They're going to win the Super Bowl this year. It ain't happening. This team is not real good. I predicted a couple of months ago that there's going to be a quarterback controversy in Detroit, and it's on its way. Jared Goff has not looked good. They're 1-1 in the first 2 games, but he has not looked good the first 2 weeks of the season. Not that a lot of quarterbacks have.
Who's the other quarterback going to be?
Hendon Hooker.
All right. Tennessee faithful, right?
Yep.
There's no bias to that comment, though, right, Prophet? Not at
No,
all.
it's not. I'm not a big Jared Goff fan, and Hooker is a good quarterback. I mean, Goff really hasn't done a whole lot in his career. I mean, yeah, okay, he did go to a Super Bowl, but that was in spite of him, not because of him.
All right. Well, we'll see how this plays out in the future, and maybe there is quarterback controversy in Detroit. Who knows? But hey, Sam Darnold and the Vikings down the 49ers. Listen, I know the 49ers are down a little bit. They lost a couple guys. This is not a good loss for them. They're sitting here at 1-1 now. Vikings shocking a lot of people at 2-0. All right, Darnold goes 17 of 26 for 268 and 2 touchdowns. Chandler goes 10 for 82. Brock Purdy goes 28 of 36 for 319 and a touchdown. Nice little day for him. And then Mason runs for 100 and a touchdown. Vikings just came out on top on this one. They were able to get it done. They got up early on them. And they never trailed in this game. They were up 20-7, I think, at the end of the third quarter. So, what did you make out of this one? And should the Niners fans be worrying here?
Nah, you know what? They'll be okay. And again, because they're in a weak division, the NFC West is not good. Minnesota plays San Fran tough. They beat them last year in Minnesota. One of my good friends, Big Tex, who I was in the suicide pool with, we were talking last week, and he wanted to take San Fran, and I told him I don't like to play. I said I took San Fran in my confidence pool, but I have a feeling Minnesota's going to win this game, and sure enough, they did. Now, I didn't help them out any with my suicide pick because I had Baltimore. But this game really wasn't surprising, and San Fran's going to be fine. They got too much talent out there.
Talk about a game that was surprising to a lot of people. Are the Cowboys in trouble? The Saints destroyed Dallas by a score of 44-19. This game was a blowout from the start. I'm looking at the score here. That's 35-16 at halftime. Saints rack up 432 yards of total offense. The Cowboys 353. Derek Carr goes 11-16 for 2 TDs and 240 yards. Dak goes 27-39 for 292, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. He didn't look good. Kamara went absolutely off. Kind of a resurgence for him, which is nice to see. 20 rushing attempts, 115 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then he didn't do much. Well, yeah, he did. He got 2 receptions and 65 yards and a touchdown in the receiving game too. What'd you make of this game? What do you think about the Cowboys as a whole? And what do you think about the Saints?
I tell you what, that's like this game blows my mind. I mean, we're talking about a team that didn't lose a home game last year until Green Bay beat them in the playoffs, and they spanked most everybody that went into Dallas Stadium last year. And they had a good win against Cleveland to open up the season. They were all probably high CDs back, and Dak had just signed his contract there. But 44-19 to the Saints. I mean, yeah, the Saints are putting up some points so far. 91 points, I think, in 2 games. But
yeah,
to put a 44 spot on the Cowboys in Dallas, that's pretty impressive. Are the Saints for real? Right now, I say no, but that could change.
Well,
I mean,
we'll see if it. I mean, not for nothing, but if Kamara can play the way he's been playing, I mean, that's a big deal for them.
Well, they got the new OC out there. I think Jim Kubiak is his name, Gary Kubiak's son.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I mean, 91 points in 2 games. He's doing something right.
Sure.
But they got Derek Carr too. That's always a concern.
Everybody needs a good game manager. But talking about surprising games, this one again killed a lot of people in their suicide pools. Raiders beat the Ravens. My boy Gardner Minshew goes into Baltimore and gets it done in a hostile work environment. Ravens are 0-2 on the year, Prophet. 0-2. I think if I remember correctly, I had them under 9.5 wins or whatever it was. So I'm looking pretty good on that. Raiders 260 yards of offense to the Ravens 383. Gardner Minshew goes 30 of 38 for 276 and a touchdown. Lamar goes 21 of 34 for 247 and a touchdown. Derrick Henry goes off, has a nice little day, 18 for 84 and a touchdown. Maybe there's a little slight resurgence from Derrick Henry. Had a nice day fantasy-wise anyway. But what do you make of these Ravens? I know you're not high on the Raiders, but it's more so, what do you think about the Ravens here?
Well, I wasn't high on either of these two teams going in, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of the Ravens. I really don't. They don't have a whole hell of a lot, to be honest. They've got Zay Flowers. They got decent tight ends. They got no offensive line, and they got a good defense, but their quarterback is not good. Lamar Jackson is not good. And people can say what they want. They're not going to agree with me. I mean, I've been taking heat for 4 years over this. But Lamar Jackson is not a good quarterback. And again, losing to the Raiders, who had to travel across the country, play a 1:00 game for your home opener, and you guys don't even show up, this team's in trouble.
In our last game in the weekly roundup segment, Malik Willis, of all people, gets it done against the Colts that lay an egg and only put up 10 points. 383 yards of offense for the Packers compared to the Colts for 338. Malik Willis goes 12 of 14 for 122 and a touchdown with no interceptions. Talk about managing a game and being efficient. Malik Willis did that. Anthony Richardson, on the other hand, goes 17 of 34 for 204, a touchdown and 3 interceptions. A turnover machine. Josh Jacobs goes off to the tune of 32 rushes, 151 yards. And on the contrary, the little bright spot for the Colts here was the fact that Jonathan Taylor racked up 103 yards on 12 carries. Are the Packers going to be okay without Love for a couple weeks? Did the Colts have a down week? What's the problem here?
There's a couple. It's funny that the 16-10 game is the last one of the segment with the Packers and the Colts, but there's a lot going on in this game. Number one, we joked about it. The Tennessee stole a 7th-round draft pick from the Packers, and look who's getting the best of that trade now. I mean, Malik Willis, he's got to play 2 more games. He goes into Tennessee this week, and then he gets Minnesota at home. If he can have them at 2-2, which is very possible, and 3-1 is even more not more possible, but that's very possible. But Love comes back in week 5, and the Packers are like they didn't even miss a beat. The Colts, the Colts aren't a good team there, Sling. They don't have a lot. They don't have a lot on either side of the ball. Take Jonathan Taylor out of that offense, man, and they don't really have anything. But
I think if you ask Packer fans when Jordan Love got hurt, if they could come out of four weeks without him at 2-2 with Malik Willis at quarterback, they would jump all over it. Now you're saying they might be 2-2, they might even be 3-1 by the time this is all said and done. So
right.
Next
week they get Minnesota at home. Which division game? Who knows what's going to happen there?
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that. That'll wrap it up for our weekly roundup segment. That was a lot and a little. I'm proud of you, Prophet. I'm proud of you. I'm going to say I'm proud of you for keeping that relatively concise. And we got through that. That was a lot of games we had to cover. Honorable mention, the Eagles game. Shout out to the Falcons for getting that done. However they got it done. Who do you want to blame there? You can blame Saquon Barkley for dropping that pass at the end of the game. You can blame Nick Sirianni, who I'm going to blame for his stupid coaching decisions, not running the football, not kicking field goals in the first quarter when you got 4th and 4 on your own 20-yard line, whatever it might be. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of mixed emotions here in Philly this week regarding that loss as to who should be shouldering the blame for it. I know I just kind of sprung it on you, but you got a couple quick seconds to talk about that one or no?
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of blame to go around. You mentioned Barkley. Okay, Barkley's going to catch that ball 99 out of 100 times. He dropped the ball. You can't blame him for the game for that. Okay, you can't even blame Hurts as much as I would like to for the interception at the end, even though it was a terrible pass. They needed 30 yards to get in the field goal range for Elliott to kick a 57-yarder with 35 seconds and 2 timeouts left. But my big scapegoat here is the defense. I mean, they give Atlanta the ball with 1:40, no timeouts, and they go into the prevent defense and they let Kirk Cousins just drive right down the field on them. 70 yards in less than a minute or a little over a minute.
It was something like that.
But no pressure on them whatsoever. Okay, they're playing the prevent, but they gave up 2 long passes in the prevent defense. What the hell's the sense of playing the prevent?
I want to touch on that too, like real quick. And I think like we see that so often anymore in the NFL where a team gets a lead and they kick the ball back to the other team with short time left and they have to go the length of the field. You see, like I feel like you see with the Chiefs all the time. These teams are just marching downfield because the defenses are playing so far off. If you're down 1 score or less than a score with 50 seconds left and you're getting the ball back, like I almost feel like I'm never nervous about the team being able to drive down and score because you see it happen all the time to at least set up a last second, not a Hail Mary, but something close to the end zone. It's pretty crazy that, like you said, the teams are playing in prevent defense. Eventually you got to prevent them from getting yards. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? You can't just sit there and give up chunks of 25, 30 yards at a time. So
And what I don't understand is how you can play a game for 58 minutes and give up 13, 14 points and not let the team really move the ball at all. But then in the last 2 minutes, you drop into a prevent defense and you let them just walk right down the field. Play your base defense and live and die with it.
Yeah, well, that wraps it up for our weekly roundup segment. Like I said, I wanted to try and squeeze that Eagles game in there because I know that there was a lot of feelings on it. But we're going to move into our game of the weeks here, or games of the week here. There's a few of them that we want to talk about, and then we'll talk about our Jug Handle In game of the week, where you guys can make your predictions and try and win your gift certificate to the Jug Handle In to get those juicy, juicy chicken wings. First game up. We got the Patriots paying visit to the Jets here. All right. New England comes in as 6.5-point underdogs. I think that changed because when I looked tonight to make my plays of the week, that hook is gone now. So it has changed to 6. Over under here, 38.5. Aaron Rodgers comes out last week, gets a W. All right. He gets a W over Tennessee. Nothing great. I mean, well, I can't say nothing great. He goes 18-30 for $176 and 2 touchdowns. All right. I expect a little bit bigger numbers out of him. Brees does a good job on the ground, but you beat the Titans. New England's coming in with a 1-1 record. They beat who the hell? They beat the Bengals week 1, and then they lose to the Seahawks in overtime here. They're not anything to write home about, in my opinion. I like the Jets here, but I got the Patriots covering. I don't think the Jets cover 6.5, but I'll go Jets. Jets, but the Patriots cover. What do you got?
Well, the Jets beat New England in January 17-3, and the 2 quarterbacks were Trevor Siemian and Bailey Zappi. The the reason I mention that is because that Jets victory was the first time in 15 games going back to 2017 that the Jets had beaten New England. I mean, New England has owned the Jets over the years, definitely through the Brady era, and then after that even. Um, I think Rodgers is starting to feel his oats with the team, and I don't know. Rodgers is 11-6 on Thursday nights. I think he makes it an even dozen this week. I got the Jets rolling in this one, 37-13.
37-13 Jets over the Patriots here. We're moving on to our next game. We got the Houston Texans visiting the Minnesota Vikings. All right. The line here is Houston -2.5. 45.5 is the over-under here. Houston's coming in at, 2-0. All right. They got the hot hand. They're reeling high off of last year. They're trying to build off of last year. They got C.J. Stroud, who had a nice game for them. The thing that scares me is not much of a rushing attack last week against the Bears. Okay. I know Joe Mixon had a great game week 1, but they weren't able to get it going on the ground week 2 here. And then you got a Vikings team that's really overachieving, but anytime you got Sam Darnold, I just don't trust the guy. I know, Jefferson's a little bit dinged up. It'll be interesting to see if he's got a designation heading into the week. I got the Texans in this one, and I think they're going to win pretty big. I got them covering here at Minnesota. What do you got?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of stats for this game, but Minnesota coming off the big win against San Fran last week. I think they're ripe for a letdown here. You touched on Jefferson not being 100%. That could hurt Minnesota, and also this is Danielle Hunter's homecoming game. He spent the first 8 years of his career in Minnesota, and now he's playing for Houston this year. He's going to want to go and show the fans what they lost out on, and I see Houston winning this one in a close one, 24-16.
Prophet picks Houston 24-16 in a close one in Minnesota. Always a tough place to play in that dome, but nice fan base there. Our next game of the week brings us to Dallas with two teams who are looking to turn their seasons around, really, to get back on the right track here. Baltimore comes in with an 0-2 record. The Cowboys come in 1-1. Baltimore comes in as a 1-point favorite, which is kind of crazy going into Dallas and being a 1-point favorite. Over under set at 49. Listen, I watched both teams play. I think we got a fluke of a week out of Dallas last week. I don't think that's how they're going to continue their season. Dak turned the ball over. Not much of a rushing attack, which I don't think that they have. Cowboys don't really have a rushing attack. That is true. So Dak's going to have to kind of, if they want to win games, he's going to have to saddle up and put this team on his back, which I think he'll be able to do at least in the regular season. He's been proven to be able to do that. Baltimore's coming off of a bad loss to the Raiders. I got the Cowboys in this one. Could be a close one. I got the Cowboys by 4 points. We'll see what happens on that. What do you got in this one?
Yeah, well, this game is a showdown with two overpaid, overhyped, and overrated quarterbacks going at it this week in Dallas. I honestly think that this is a false favorite here. I think Vegas is thinking that Baltimore is not going to go 0-3 to start the year, but Dallas hasn't lost 2 in a row at home since 2017. I see the Cowboys taking this one 27-17.
27-17, Cowboys taking the victory in this one over the Ravens. What time is this? A 1 o'clock game?
I believe it's a 4. I believe it's 4.
Yeah, that sounds about right. We're moving on to our next game, which brings us to the Kansas City Chiefs visiting the Atlanta Falcons. Kansas City comes in at 3.5-point favorites. Over under set at 46.5. Falcons coming off a big win at Philadelphia on Monday Night Football. Kirk Cousins goes 20 of 29 for 241 and 2 touchdowns. Bijan Robinson, the hot running back, he goes 14 for 97. You know, a lot of weapons here, a lot of potential weapons here on the Atlanta offense. Okay. And then you got obviously the Chiefs who have weapons, but I don't like that turnover ratio right now for Mahomes. He's kind of been throwing the ball up. And it's like we talked about earlier with Pacheco being out, they really don't have a rushing attack. I don't think that that's going to matter too much. I think Mahomes is going to win this one with his arm. And I think the Chiefs are going to go into Atlanta, and I do think that they're going to cover the 3.5. Prophet, what do you think on this game?
Yeah, well, it's always tough to bet against the Chiefs, especially in prime time. But Atlanta looked pretty good. Cousins looked pretty good on Monday night. He's another one that, new team and all. He may just be starting to feel his oats here, getting familiar with all his receivers. The lack of a running game, I think, is going to hurt Kansas City this week. I got Atlanta winning this one in outright 27-24.
Prophet's taking Atlanta over the Kansas City 27-24. Would be an upset in a lot of people's mind. I just don't see it happening. I just don't know if I'm sold on Atlanta's defense and Mahomes. Like he said, you got to put the ball in Mahomes' hands and let him go to work with his arm because they're not going to have a rushing attack. So we're moving on here to our last game, and it is the Jug Handle Inn game of the week. Again, Jug Handle Inn can be located in Cinnaminson, New Jersey. Delicious chicken wings, plus a lot of other stuff, cold beer. I really like the cheese fries there. They got some really good cheese fries, in my opinion. So I might have to get some this weekend. I finally got paid, so I might have to make a trip up to the Jug Handle Inn myself. But Jug Handle Inn game of the week's got the Philadelphia Eagles visiting the New Orleans Saints. Saints come into this one as 2.5-point favorites, which is a little shocking to me. Over under set at 49.5. So it looks like Vegas is expecting a high scoring game, and I think it will be a high scoring game. I think, you touched on it earlier in the show, Prophet, about not buying into the Saints hype right now, and you don't think that they're, that you think they're pretenders compared to contenders. I think the Eagles need this game. I think that there's a lot of stuff going on in Philly right now. There's a lot of talk about Sirianni being on the hot seat. There's a lot of talk about Jalen Hurts being on the hot seat. I think the Eagles need this game. I don't think they're going to get it because they've since week whatever it was of last year, they have found ways to lose a lot of football games. And I just don't think that they get back on track. There's a lot of animosity here in this city right now, and there's a lot of stuff going on within the team. I heard a report today that Sirianni didn't even address the team after their loss this week in the locker room. Now, that's verified by two players, so to speak. I don't know if that's factual. That's what was said. But I mean, there's just, like I said, there's a lot of disconnect going on in this organization right now. I got the Saints in this one. I got the Saints 33, Philadelphia 21 for my Jug Handle In game of the week prediction. New Orleans 33, Philadelphia 21. What do you got?
Yeah, the Saints offense is rolling and their D is playing fairly well too. The Eagles need to figure it out on both sides of the ball, and I just don't think it's going to happen this week. I got the Saints in a low-scoring game, 23-16.
Prophet takes the Saints 23-16. Jug Handle In game of the week. Remember, if you correctly guess the winning team and the score, you'll get a gift certificate to the Jug Handle In. Jug Handle In. Got wings?
Got wings.
Hey, that wraps it up, Prophet, for our games of the week. We'll see. I think I'm curious to see how that Eagles game plays out this week. I think if the Saints win, I don't want to say there's going to be moves made, but you're really going to see the true colors, I think, of the Philly fan base, and they are not happy right now. And John H. checking in, he says Saints 27-24. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on. We're moving on here, though, to a segment that we didn't get to hit on last week. It's Proffet's Fantasy Headquarters. All right, Proffet, you're not only a master wizard betting mind, you're pretty good at fantasy football too, and you got some guys that you want to talk about sitting, starting, and picking up. Let's try and roll through this, and I'll give you the floor here. Let's talk about. I think you want to talk about your stardoms first, right?
Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll go in order: start, sit, and pick up. Start. If you have Kirk Cousins on your team, get him in your lineup. I mean, he's starting to hit his stride now with his receivers and going up against the 31st ranked pass defense, giving up 260 yards a game. I think Kirk's going to have a big game against the KC this week. At running back, guy I told you to pick up last week, Chuba Hubbard. He didn't have the big game that he should have against the Chargers. I still am a little salty about that game, but going out to California with Andy Dalton at the quarterback now, going against a pretty porous Raiders run defense, I'd see Chuba Hubbard going off this week. You got Chuba Hubbard in your. Plus, I like saying his name too.
I don't think you're saying it right, but I think it's Chuba. But we'll let you. I'll just let you keep going with it.
you got Hubbard on your team. You get him in your lineup, okay?
Yeah, Chuba, same thing.
And last, certainly not least, is Garrett Wilson. Okay, for some there, it's a no-brainer. Well, there's been a lot of talk about people wanting to bench him. He's not getting the ball. That Rodgers isn't really looking his way. Well, he's going up against New England, who's given up 245 a game to receivers. It's time for Wilson to start, making his money, and it's going to happen. I got the Jets winning big in that game, and I think Wilson's going to score twice.
Larry says, say that name 5 times fast. Chuba Hubbard, Chuba Hubbard, Chuba.
Yeah, anyway, I was having problems with doing it twice, Larry.
Yeah, so Proffet stardoms, you got Cousins, Chuba Hubbard, Garrett Wilson. Talk to me about your situms.
Yeah, you're going to love this one, okay? At quarterback, Baker Mayfield. You got him in your lineup, find another quarterback. This could be a letdown week for him, and he's going up against the number 4 pass defense in the league in the Denver Broncos. They can't score, but they don't give up a whole lot either. I'm looking to sit Baker Mayfield this week. Ezekiel Elliott at the running back slot. Baltimore's given up 2.7 per rush, and Dallas is probably going to have to throw the ball to win this game. Ezekiel's probably not going to be a part of this game at all. Put him on your bench. And last, any Green Bay receiver. Malik Willis throwing the ball. Tennessee's got a stout, pass defense. You got don't even think about putting a Green Bay receiver in your lineup this week. Okay.
Even if you think the Packers are going to win the game.
Even if you think the Packers are going to win, yes.
All right. Well, okay. And I know you put out a video last week about explaining your pickups. Explain to the people again what you mean by pickups. It's based off of a percentage of roster, right? Or roster percentage.
Yeah, it's based off of ESPN's fantasy. Okay. I'm giving plays for guys that are on 75% or less of the teams. Okay, so if you got a guy that's on 50 rostered on 50%, he could be on my list. You got a guy that's rostered on 92%, he's not going to be on my list for pickups because chances are you ain't going to have a chance to get him anyhow.
All right.
And I only have 2 plays this week. Quarterback. I'm going right back up to the top with Kirk Cousins. Okay, for all the same reasons, and Kirk Cousins is only rostered on 52% of the team, so you need a quarterback this week. Pick up Kirk Cousins. Yeah, he's going to take care of you. And at wide receiver, I'm going with Gabe Davis. Okay. Um, I'm not crazy about Sunshine throwing the ball to him, but Davis is returning home. And lots of times, offensive players have big games when they go back to where they came from. I have a feeling that Sunshine's going to try and force feed him the ball. Davis should probably get about 80 yards and a score this week.
Yeah, talk about somebody who needs to have a bounce back game and somebody who's on the hot seat. They're calling for Doug Peterson's job too. So,
Yeah.
well, we'll see how the Jaguars are able to bounce back, and it's going to take a lot for Trevor Lawrence to regain any kind of confidence from me. Not that it matters, but there you have it. Prophet's Fantasy Headquarters. There's his starts, his sit-ems, his pickups for the week. Again, if you got him in your lineup, make sure he's playing. We're moving on. We're moving on to another segment. All right, Sling'n Proffet's plays of the week, which is our, we dabble in the sports world of realm. Prophet a little better than I do with the betting aspect. And listen, I'm just here for fun. Okay, I just like to have fun with it. These are hypotheticals for me, so to speak. So I don't really put my whole time and effort into it. Like, judging here, I went a little cold streak last week, went 0 for 3. Okay, but listen, I was here for fun. I was looking really good in that Texas State game up until the final seconds. Texas State wound up losing to Arizona State, I think 31-28. They were up the whole game. Nobody expected the Packers to beat the Colts the way they did. And my touchdown score my touchdown score at parlay didn't hit at all. So I lost money last week. Prophet, you had Evan Ingram as an anytime touchdown scorer, which got washed because he was a late scratch for the game. He got injured in pregame warmups, so we take that off the board. All right, you lost your Baltimore Vegas bet, which again most people didn't see coming, but you were pretty high on that Baltimore line.
Yeah.
And then you hit with the Jets -3 at Tennessee, laying 248 to win 448. So that was a nice hit for you there, being able to get you back some money that you were able to, or recoup some money that you lost. But again, Baltimore laying an egg for a lot of people out there in the gambling field.
Well, not only gambling, but suicide also. I mean, I've seen numerous different suicide pools that drop 50, 60, 100 people, Baltimore losing. And Evan Ingram not playing was the big one for me because with that void bet, that meant I ended up kissing my sister with the other two. And I don't like kissing my sister. She an ugly bitch. So I would have rather had Ingram playing and won that one because he would have scored. So, but on to this week.
That's why we got multiple weeks here. So we're moving on to our Sling'n Proffet plays of the week for this week. I'll go through mine first. I got a Friday night college football game. I got Syracuse -9 over Stanford. Syracuse has been rolling. They're 2-0, I think, right now, and they're just playing well under new head coach Fran Brown. I got 100 to win 190 there. NFL two single game parlay, as they like to say right now. I got the Patriots and over. All right, I got the Patriots at +6, over 38.5. I think the Jets are going to win, but I don't think they're going to cover. So I got the Patriots and over 50 to win 185. And then, as always, I'll throw in an anytime touchdown scorer. I got Mike Evans, Devin Singletary, and Alvin Kamara, anytime touchdown scorers. $50 on that to get a nice $376 payback on that. I think that one's got a good shot at hitting. I spent $200 total this week. I'm down to 996. I'm not worried yet, but I'm starting to get a little nervous. Prophet, talk to us about your bets for the week.
Yeah, my top play is the Texans going into Minnesota. I think Houston, I called the score 24-16. That 16 might be a late touchdown for Minnesota. I don't think Houston's going to be in jeopardy of losing this game at all. Um, I'm dropping 165 to get back 315. Then my second play for the week is the over in the Kansas City Atlanta game. Kansas City, again, they have no running game. They're going to have to throw. Mahomes is going to probably throw the ball 40, 45 times, which means that Atlanta's going to have to throw to keep up with them, too. I see this game actually soaring over the over. I'm laying, what am I laying here?
110.
110 to bring back 210. And then my last pick, I looked at the lines on this today. I actually like Bijan Robinson as an anytime touchdown scorer, but I didn't like the odds. The odds were like minus 140, so it wasn't worth it to me. I'm going with him scoring the first touchdown of the game. I like the plus 550 instead of the minus 140. I'm laying 50 to win 325 on that. Going into the weekend, I'm up $84 after 2 weeks. It's not good, but guess what? I know a lot of people that are down after these 2 weeks, and hopefully things settle down a little bit in the league, and we'll be back to making money.
Yeah, I'd be hard pressed to remember a start to an NFL season as crazy and wild as this one has been, especially with the upsets and just overall good product. And I'm hoping that this week we can get a week where, like I said, I haven't enjoyed sitting down in my basement for 7 hours yet and just watching football all day. I want to get back to that. I want to get to some good games. And you know what bothers me too is we need more 4 o'clock games, in my opinion. We're so heavy loaded on these 1 o'clock games, and the worst thing is we had 10 1 o'clock games this year or this past week, and we come back in there and there's like 3 4 o'clock games, and it's just like, I don't know, bring back more 4 o'clock games. I'd rather have it evened out. What about you?
Well, sometimes too. I mean, they do the schedule for these based on what they think are going to be good games too. And I mean, okay, this week we got Kansas City, Cincinnati at 4, but it's possible that you had 3 duds, instead of just the 2.
Yeah.
And nobody would have been watching 4 o'clock games.
There's too many games that have them all bunched up in one time frame. In my opinion. Anyway, we're hoping for a good weekend of football. We had a good show.
2 games Monday night this week too.
Oh, really?
Guys? Yeah.
Oh man, what's up with that, dude? That's ridiculous. Anyway, that's a topic for next week. Hey, we got through this one, Prophet. You paid the electric bill. You sounded good. Everything's back on track here. Hey, we're back live next Wednesday night. Same bat time, same bat place, 8 p.m. live. Facebook, YouTube, find us on X. We appreciate you guys as always.
Love you guys.